Hi everyone.
Freedom.
Back here with Derek, and we are continuing to talk about the Emergency Act that we all know that has been declared, ruled by the federal court as being unconstitutional. And the last time we spoke in the Black Flag Media Studio,
Yes,
the Black Flag Media Studio, we talked about the Emergency Act being unconstitutional, and we played Arif Afrani's speech in the House of Commons February 17th, 2022, and we talked about that. So since then, I dug up a speech that Michael Cooper, an MP from Alberta, made on that same date, February 17th. Michael Cooper is a lawyer, and I love his speech. Quite honestly, I think that he would be a great justice minister. That's my take on Michael Cooper. But so we're going to talk a little bit to get Derek's take on this, and then we're just gonna play Michael's speech, and we'll leave it at that. Yeah. So what did you think of Michael's speech?
Well, he basically, and you'll hear it in a minute. So he basically said, he capitulated what the federal court said. However, he said that almost 2 years before, where it doesn't meet the threshold, which was the main thing, and it didn't meet the threshold. And he did bring up, he called it theater that Justin was purveying, and that he was going to perverse the law. But as we find out now, really, and then you see Justin's intent ever since then, it goes beyond perversion and it goes beyond theater. I mean, he basically weaponized the police against his own people, and basically told the banks, you're shutting down. You're going to shut down bank accounts. Now,
it was definitely a power grab.
Oh, definitely was a power grab.
Mm-hmm.
And now the thing, thankfully Lynn found this, because like most people believe, you know, the conservatives were kind of going along with the flow, right? And maybe some were, but there's some weren't. And then Michael Cooper isn't one of them. And when you hear him speak, he's definitely on our side. But I think this stems from, and what happened was is just prior to COVID, obviously, we were getting close to an we were in the midst of the election, and then the video that would live in infamy is you see Aaron O'Toole with this big stupid grin on his face with Jagmeet and letting Trudeau talk on behalf of him. And then he says, yes, take your vaccine.
That collective video of all the party leaders.
Yeah. That's going to live in infamy, and hopefully that video comes back when everything's fully out on the table. Mm-hmm. But that tainted the conservatives, and that, you know, even although they had more votes, they lost the election. There was backlash, and then you saw Trudeau coming in with more and more authoritarian.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. You know, that with Michael's speech, he's obviously very against the Emergency Act, and he's saying it's not needed, it's not warranted, it's a perversion of the rule of law. It's going to affect all of Canada. This is not a national emergency at all. You'll hear his speech afterwards, and that's, you know, this one conservative that stood up, but there were more. But the point that I'm trying to make is, collectively, even though Aaron O'Toole was kind of, you know, not necessarily the best leader of that party, and presented the Conservative Party in a light that most Canadians saw as not on our side.
Nope.
But as a party, they did not support the invocation of the Act. Right. It's very clear, not just from Michael's speech, but we know now that they did not support the invocation. And I think that's important for us to realize and to know that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I actually think so. After O'Toole's exit, so really, and this goes back to conservatism. They were still trying to kind of. They were in a bit of a malaise. They're still trying to appeal to everybody. They didn't really see Trudeau for what he was. And what I mean by that, you know, there were small C's. They were still trying to be media friendly with basically Trudeau-owned media. But it was really Candace Bergen actually, so not Bergman. So her, and collectively with a lot of, mostly the Western MPs for the most part.
A lot of them.
A lot of them were.
Yeah.
So she basically empowered that whole party to go, hey, we're supposed to be conservatives, and started dragging them back away from that swampy centrism and trying to appeal to the media. And then that led into them electing O'Toole. But Michael Cooper
electing Pierre
to be the new leader and go into his first election, whatever that might be. But thankfully that was it. But Michael always had that strong voice. But like remember with the mainstream media that we'd see through all of that, they wouldn't allow a speech like that, like Michael. That was not going to, and that never aired.
Yeah, people never saw that.
Never saw that.
Yeah.
So in terms of the mainstream media, what they were trying to present, well, this is a united, Justin's not doing this on his own, that it was more a little bit united. And the Conservatives were struggling to say, hey, we're not in favor of this. And then it was eventually, and we were all thinking what was going on. Remember that? Everything was locked down, bank accounts frozen, we have this martial law still in place. And it was, I still remember the feeling in there, like, dude, what are we going to do, right? And we didn't hear voices like this, but near the end, thankfully, we started hearing some conservative voices on the Senate. And it was the Senate that finally said, hey, we aren't going to allow this to go further. Because the vote was in the House, the NDP supported it.
Yeah.
So it was going to go forward. The actual act ended with the Senate. And thankfully, we heard strong conservative voices in the Senate and in Sanity. But then, like I said, then the Conservatives, if you want to, I don't want to call it woke up, but they said, listen, we got to press this, right? The one, and like Michael Cooper is one of them. So enjoy Michael Cooper's speech, and if you find anybody else's speeches and you want to put them in the comments and let us know who else you watched, not supporting the Emergency Act, that'd be great, because we need to hear those voices, even though it was 2 years ago. But we do really need, as a freedom movement, as Canadians, to stand strong and to recognize that it was ruled unconstitutional, unreasonable, unjustified, and unconstitutional. So we must hold that line and keep that in the airways. We must keep talking about that. Oh,
it will be appealed, but
we got. I'm glad you mentioned the appeal. We got to say this constantly. I mean, you got to talk to people on the street, because he's taking it. He's appealing it because he wants to use it again, and it won't be on. It will be on everybody the next time that he's using it on. But we got to just let everyone know that it was abuse of power, and it is against what he did was against the law.
Yeah.
Like he broke the law.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. This just wasn't some sort of decision. He physically broke the law.
Right.
Now his appeal and what you saw on all the other videos that the Liberals were saying what justified it was all proven false. With the one fact I think the only thing they have for an appeal when they go there in the Emergency Act is there could be economic damage to Canada. That's why they did it. Simple counterpoint. Who closed bank accounts? Who shut the border down? Who shut businesses down?
Not even just in the Emergency Act, but who shut down businesses during the whole lockdown, and the whole tourism industry fell flat. Yeah. I mean, lost businesses, airlines, and bus companies, and hotels.
So that's how you counter it. My only fear is in the Supreme Court. There is Liberals there, but fact is it's constitutional.
Yeah,
and they'll uphold the ruling for sure.
Oh, I'm wearing my thank you. I just saw it on the screen. I'm wearing my thank you truckers button. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Frank Truck. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're getting close to the 17th.
Yeah. So I will be going, and I will be, that's funny. Yeah. Because it was stated on the February 17th, those speeches in the House. And of course, the 17th this year, 2 years later, is the Saturday. And many of us, including me, and including Derek, will be in Ottawa and holding the line in Ottawa. I will be there on the February 14th. because that's the day they invoke the the Emergency Act. They invoked the Emergency
At
Act.
4 p.m. that afternoon.
Oh, is it 4 p.m.? Well, I'll have to make sure that I'm holding it at 4 p.m. So, okay, thanks everybody, and enjoy Michael's speech, and any comments you want to make in the comment section would be really great to hear.
Emergencies Act
Freedom.
is not needed, it's not warranted, because, Mr. Speaker, there is no national emergency. And so, what we have is a Prime Minister who has invoked the Emergency Act absent a national emergency. That, Mr. Speaker, is an abuse of power on the part of the Prime Minister. It is a perversion of the rule of law. It threatens the rights and freedoms of Canadians right across Canada, not just those who are standing outside Parliament Hill. And it sets a dangerous precedent of normalizing the extraordinary powers authorized pursuant to the Act. The Prime Minister knows that the threshold has not been met, but the Prime Minister doesn't care, because for the Prime Minister, it's all about political theater. The Prime Minister knows what he is doing is wrong and that he is acting unlawfully. And so the members on that side of the House, the members in the NDP, the coalition partners of this government, have a choice. They can follow the law pursuant to the Emergencies Act, or they can aid and abet this abuse of power on the part of the Prime Minister. The choice is clear. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.